My name is Nancy, and I've had type 1 diabetes since 1956 when I was 4 years old. I was diagnosed, my grandmother had taken me into Minneapolis to go to the Ice Capades and a day of shopping, you know, my big 4-year-old time into Minneapolis. And we went out for Chinese food ahead of time, and my grandmother noticed that I had been drinking huge glasses of water. She called my mom and said, "I think there's something wrong with Nancy." Luckily, my mom's sister was married to a doctor here in San Francisco who specialized in type 1 diabetes. So here she is with me and my brother and getting on the plane. And back then, you know, my dad got on the plane with my mom and went to the pilots and said, "Are you sure you can bring my daughter to San Francisco safely, because she's a very sick little girl?" Back then, they had no machines, no glucose meters. The shot was in a glass syringe with a big, huge needle on the end of it. And my mom would give me my shot in my arm, and then my dad, they'd have to boil the syringe every night, and then he'd take the needle and on a stone and sharpen it so that the next morning it would work. And you know, we just reused that needle over and over and over again. My grandmother was going to come and stay with me, and Mom had taught her how to give me my shots. And so the first morning I came down and said to Grandma, "Well, let's have my shot." And I put my arm out for her, and she started about this far away from my arm and dive bombed for it. The needle broke, the insulin went dripping down the front of my arm. I started crying. It was just a disaster. And when my parents came back, I said, "You need to teach me how to give my own shots." I just so happened to be getting a massage one day from this gal, and she said, "Can I know the executive director of the JDRF office here in San Francisco, and can I give her your name? Maybe you'd like to do some volunteer work." Came in the office, started volunteering, and pretty soon they asked me if I wanted a job, and I said, you know, I would love it. After being a nurse for 20 years, this was just such a relief to have a job where I loved coming to work. It would be so wonderful to wake up in the morning and not have to reach for my machine and figure out how much insulin to take to get it back to where it's supposed to be. To just live my life and not have all of that surrounding it, where I could just get up and go and not have to worry about any of that. I've never had a life like that, and I would really love the day when that happens. And I think I would sit down and eat a half gallon of ice cream and know that I don't need to take any insulin.